Joining me now, right here on the Law Live Audio Wrestling. It's still kind of weird to say, but I mean, listen, when I set out to do this kind of stuff, I said that I want to have conversations with people that I know, people that I like, people that I can have just a normal conversation with. And right out the gate, as you've seen, we've done some of them already, but this is a guy that I have so much respect for because I watched him grow from a tiny little green kid and run past everybody. Like, and I mean absolutely everybody. I'm talking about a guy who's had runs in multiple companies, but has always been humbled to know where his roots started. And I'm talking about a guy that, I mean, a lot of people may or may not know it. I don't care if you believe it or not, but I probably have more respect for this guy than anybody else that I've watched grow and get out onto the road. And ladies and gentlemen, joining me right now, my friend, your friend, Mr. Shawn Spears. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, man? That was a very wonderful and touching introduction. And before we get on our conversation, just know that the feeling is very mutual and has been for as long as I've been going, since I've known you, which is probably somewhere in the vicinity of 20 years now. But you've been a mainstay, and you were a huge part of my jump start early on. So thank you for the kind words. And I look forward to shooting the shit with another good brother here.
You know, we always tend to have good conversations at the weirdest times, like right before the music hits. You know what I mean? You're standing there, you're like, oh, by the way, this is my last run. I'll talk to you about it soon. Enjoy your match. See you out there. You know. Yeah. So I'm glad that we get a chance to do this right out the gate. One thing that I do want to know, though, and I've always wondered this, and I don't know if anybody has, and I'm sure somebody has asked you it. Why Spears? Why Shawn Spears?
I do get asked that, but I haven't been asked it publicly. My students, a lot of my students ask me when we say you got to start thinking about a name and entrance and gear and all that kind of stuff. It doesn't have to be a finished product, but it has to start somewhere. And that was something that Eric Young, Showtime, always taught me. He said, you're going to need a name. And I was like, I don't know how to, you know, so he suggested I go through a baby book. And that's exactly what I did. I wrote down names that I liked as last names and names that I liked as first names and kind of crisscrossed them. And the most important thing was he said, try and find something that can be used as both a good guy and a bad guy. Right. It can be kind of, we can dress it up later with monikers and things like that. Shawn Spears just kind of fit together. And I think I was getting ready to do my first show, so I needed something. I will tell you the first name that I had.
Yeah, because this is what I want to know. What ones made the list? And like, you were like, you're throwing darts at him.
So I don't remember a lot of lists, but I remember this one because I thought it was good at the time.
Oh, boy.
I thought this is it. This is it. It's rotten, but this is what I had. So I had written down, Sure Shot, Chris Caliber. That was my first name that I had written down that I was planning to go with. And I want to say with certain 100% probably you, I was like, let's keep looking. Let's keep looking. Let's keep trying things out. That's probably where the baby book came into play. So
wow. Yeah. So you were ready to burn your boots before you even put them on, basically, right?
Oh, dude, I thought, I could got a Sure Shot, Caliber. They'll get it. They'll piece it together and bang. And I could do whatever, you know. I thought I knew it. I knew it. But oof, I dodged. Hey, no pun intended, I dodged a bullet or two there.
Right? No kidding. Man, could you imagine? Like, it's always funny because I had the same thing. Like, Notorious TID was something that was given to me when we first started this show, and I think we were doing a goof on Biggie Smalls at the time, right? And then the name Donnie, the co-host of Live Audio Wrestling the first time around, gave me the name, and it just kind of stuck and through wrestling because for one match and one match only, I was introduced. Are you ready for this?
Oh, I'm so ready for this.
One word name. Pipe.
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 That's great. How have you never told me this?
I've never told anybody this one.
Pipe.
Yeah, the stupidest idea in the world. But same thing. Everybody will get it. Everybody will understand it. Like, oh, is it a smoking pipe? Is he going to hit you with a pipe? Is he going to run the
Yeah.
pipe? Like, you know, the whole thing. The crowd, they'll get it right out the gate. No problem, right?
And we're behind it. We're with it. We get it. We'll get it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's funny how we don't have a fucking clue.
No.
You know what I mean? When we start, and you're in a position now where you're having to teach that next generation, right? And a lot of stuff I you know as well as I do, a lot of stuff has changed so much, not just in the business, on the teaching end of stuff, because society has changed so much. You know what I mean? You can't treat the humans that come through your door now the way that I was treated when I first started, or the way that you were treated when you first started, right? How tough has that been for you?
That part hasn't. We actually explained that to them. Like, so, hey, when I was coming up, I got roughed up a little bit, and then generations before me, they were challenged to see how long they wanted to stick around, so they were beat up kind of for real. We don't believe in doing that. We don't believe in trying to run people out of the business, because nowadays the business, like you said, it's changed so much and it's advanced so much that, when we talk about guys like mega stars like Bad Bunny is doing professional wrestling. Guys like Logan Paul, these are guys that don't need the money. Like they don't. Yeah. They're doing okay in life, you know what I mean? But all these celebrities that are giving it a shot and knocking it out of the damn park, by the fucking way,
right?
It's just a different day and age. So I don't believe in running people out of this business, because you never know who can turn around and be a very valuable asset for this industry. And if they become a valuable asset, not only looks good on me or my buddy Breeze. Like that's the way I look at it. Anybody can be anything in professional wrestling. If you love this enough, there's a place for you. If you love this, there's a place for you in wrestling.
Because I mean, if you think about it, I was thinking about this the other day. It's like where you started, WrestlePlex. Probably, it wasn't. I had a conversation with our good friend Crazy Steve, right, not too long ago, and we were talking about Youre, we were talking about WrestlePlex, and we were talking about like the people that came out of there. It wasn't a long running school for years and years and years or anything like that. You know what I mean? Youre had hair up his ass and decided, I'm going to start a school, and I'm going to, because we all know what happened with Ike Shaw and the fallings out with everybody there, right? And not only did Youre say, I'm going to open up a school, I'm going to open it up right down the street. But this group of people that came out of there, I would say for like per capita, probably produced more guys that have actually gotten noticed, right? In the business than many other schools around. I mean, probably close second, but on sheer numbers alone, Ron Hutchison, maybe.
Yeah.
Right. Sully's, you know what I mean? Because
even tenure, right? So, you look at Steve, Crazy Steve, you look at guys like Jake O'Reilly, who's coming out, I've come out of there. Like, we've all put in, I think they were only 6 months behind me.
Right.
So they're up on the 20-year mark. So there's 3 guys that have put in combined 60 years total.
Yeah.
Like that's rare, very rare. And, even Hippie, remember Hippie was doing it for like 10, 12 years too. So it's up there in terms of how long guys have been around, stayed with it, have, tenure. It matters. So, but that all goes back to the kind of training that you receive. Yeah. One of the biggest keys in this business is longevity. And if you don't have the proper start, it's going to be very hard to last.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was one of those guys that, like, first day Johnny Canine was, let's see how tough you are. Tank.
You have a Johnny Canine story?
Yeah. 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 Canine first day just punched me in the jaw. And as a man, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, now I have to fight this guy. Right. But in my head, I'm like, well, that's not how this business works, and I'm smart enough to know that going into it. And it's just,
Right.
it's one of the most confusing things in the world. And as I'm like, I can't do this to kids that I'm trying to teach, or like when Showtime Eric Young, for those of you that aren't aware, we're talking about, when Youre was putting you guys out there to get ready and stuff like that, I was often the guy that it was like, let's see how quote tough they are. Let's see if they're ready to handle that end of it. You know what I mean? Yourself, very much. We've had a number of matches. I got a great story that maybe you do or do not remember that I want to tell in a second. Jake O'Reilly, same thing. Crazy Steve. Hell, I did a year program with Steve where we were doing things like pile driving him out in the parking lot, and he's got a scar above his eye from me and stuff. You know what I mean? So like, but like the business has changed, and I realized that like with my kids, I can't do that to these guys. First of all, they're going to crush because humans just aren't made the same size that they were. You know what I mean? But psychologically, I think it just destroys people so much, right?
Well, I think when I started, I was 21, which is still extremely young, but I'm getting kids that are 18, like very impressionable kids.
Yeah.
And like you said, times have changed. Things are different. People are more sensitive. And I think, at least what I've ran into, is a lot of times students or young people believe that what they see on TV is, well, I just have to go to school and then that happens.
Right.
They don't understand. You can watch all the documentaries and you can hear all the stories of how it was back in the day, or stories of the indies. And right now, the indies, as you know, it's great. It's okay. You can make a living on the independents. You can have a pretty good run on the independents. It's not like it was when I was starting out on the independents. It's a lot different now.
Yeah.
But the mentality remains the same. You got to hit the pavement. You got to be your own best promoter. You got to make the connections. You got to reach out. No one comes knocking. Like that kind of stuff, young talent, rightfully so, they don't understand yet until people like you and I sit there and go, the coach in me is going to tell you this. The wrestler in me is not. You got to find out for yourself.
100%. And it's a tough line because, I for myself, and I'm sure that too, is as you're talking them as a coach, you want so badly to like, this is going to happen to you. This is going to happen to you. Like as a wrestler, you know what I mean? You want to smarten them up as much as you can, but you're like, I'll see you when you get back and you tell me all about how horrible it was.
Yeah, I've had the conversations plenty of time. I go, just so you guys know, the coach in me is telling you this. The wrestler in me doesn't give a shit about it.
Have you had any instances where like you've got some of your kids, they go out there and they're like, hey, I'm working on such and such a show. And in your mind, you're sitting there going, oh, that promoter is god awful. Do you tell them, or do you let them find out?
Oh, I don't. So I don't. I don't have my thumb on the pulse of a lot of the indies, especially locally in Florida, where there's a lot of places to work.
Okay.
But I believe when you're starting out, any experience is good experience.
Yeah.
Whether it's backed or not. So I don't smarten anybody up. You're going to have to deal with shady promoters. You're going to have to deal with promises and broken promises. It's part of how you navigate and how you respond to this negativity. That's going to determine how you move forward, if you move forward at all. So no, I don't smarten them up. If they come to me with a problem, like I had a kid of mine reach out. She's in NXT now, but she got a big, well, I was going to give her away, but she had a big welt on her, and she's like, oh, dude, should I get it drained? I don't know. They're asking me. They're leading it up to me. And I was like, well, it's up to you. Like, you're in the right hands. They have the professional doctors. It's up to you if you want to get it drained or not. Or, you can probably leave it and you'll be okay. Tomorrow's a new day. If you need it done, then you can do it then. Oh, okay. So I get like reached out about things like that.
Yeah.
But not so much about promoters, but it's important to learn that this isn't all, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And the farther you get, the higher you get in terms of company wise, or the more money's involved, the more this becomes a business. And business can be in entertainment, it can be a little cutthroat. So you have to harden your shell a little bit.
Do you remember the first thing that you bought with your first big check? I'm not talking about like, your $500 extra, you know what I mean, for the
No, no,
weekend
no. I'm
check or
with you.
whatever. I mean, like your first check, did you have something set aside in your head when you knew, like, okay, I've been signed with my first check. This is the purchase that I want to make sure that I buy for myself? Was it like a barbecue or a fucking, you know, big TV or something, like, you know what I mean? Like there had to be something. Don't
Right.
tell me it was a collectible.
No, 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 no. It's going to be cheesy, but it's not a collectible. So I always, even when I got back to NXT the second time, you know, I think I 2013, maybe 14 or something like that. Um, Again, based on my previous experience, I didn't know if it would last. So I was very reserved. I held on to the money. I planned just in case. Once I got finally bumped to SmackDown and I signed the main roster, that's when I went, okay, I at least know I got this amount of money. And the first thing I bought was an engagement ring for my wife. So that was the first thing that I could buy and afford and pay off within, I think, a couple of weeks. I was good. That was the first big thing I bought. The next big purchase was my car. That was for me. And that's pretty much the only thing that I bought for me since then.
I mean,
So it was the
that is the, let's be honest, that's the proper way to lock stuff down. That is like you lock down the one first. Here's yours. Now
you
Spearsy,
know,
that's a smart move. That's points. That's
so now she
banking
goes, hey,
points, right?
so, yeah. So she goes, hey, maybe it's time to get rid of the car. I was like, maybe it's time to get rid of the ring. Huh? And then no, then that conversation dies and we move on. And then we're
That's
good.
right.
So yeah. Cover your ass, fellas. Cover your ass.
Every house is an office and every day is a work.
I'm
It's
gonna put
all
that on
just
a shirt, buddy.
it's all just how you work it, I guess, right? But that's the way I look at it.
That's right.
Listen, I'm married. I'm the same way. I'm very in tune with the, like, you bank points. You bank points up, you know, with these kinds of things, because you and I both know at some point as guys we're gonna do something that is unfavorable,
Yep.
and we're going to
Yep.
need to drop that gentle reminder about all of those good things that we did leading up to this point.
Yep. I try and cover as many bases as I can so that she has the upper hand when the time comes, and then we're okay. It's just a reminder, we're good. Won't happen again. Little payments and stuff, but yeah, that's the first thing I bought, and best investment I ever made.
Yeah, good for you, man. Good for you.
Yeah.
And always
Now
congratulations on
I
that.
got a kid, so now he gets all my money.
Yes, it's gone. You're done from there,
The
right?
days of buying myself shit is long gone. That's
Yeah.
it, buddy.
Well, yeah, I mean, this, and as that did that have any bearing? That have any bearing on, like, when you decide to hang it up?
My son.
Yeah, like having the kid, because you know what I mean. You kind of, you look at the world, like I don't have kids, but I look at the world as there's a plan, and you know, you're setting stuff aside. Were you planning on having a kid?
Yeah. So but I'd always wanted kids. I love
Mm-hmm.
kids. But obviously, as time slipped by very fast, and all of a sudden you're 40, and you're like, okay, maybe it might not
Right.
happen, but I'm ready if it does.
Right.
I've been smart with finances. I have it invested. I'm okay, which got me to the point where I was like, okay, maybe I can just pull it back a little bit, have some fun. We did a couple, indies up in Timmins, and you get to enjoy. Remember what this all is. Remember
Right.
why you started. So maybe I can just rest on that. Now having my son, it's like, okay, I want to double down and make sure that I'm not just good for me, but I'm good for him and his future family. And then there's the part of me that goes, well, I would love for him to see and understand me wrestling, which maybe he starts to understand, or maybe he'll have a memory of it when he's 4 or 5. And I go, oh, 4 or 5 years? It's like, oh. You know what I mean? I don't know if I want to be around doing all this. Because you're the same as I was, right? We never want to. I don't want to be one of those guys that sticks around longer than he should. I don't.
Right.
If someone says, "Oh, he doesn't move like he used to," or he doesn't look like he used to," or "Wow, he's getting old," like, of course, time catches up with all of us, but you want to be remembered in as best of light as possible. So
Sure.
I never wanted to overstay my welcome. But on the same kind of topic of that, like, I'm also not that beat up. I never had the responsibility of going 30 minutes 300 times a year in the main event every night. I never
And
had to
you
do
don't
that.
bump. And you don't bump either.
Work
So
smarter, not harder, baby. I don't hit ropes. I don't bump. I just all this, and
yeah,
we're good.
yeah.
That's it. So, um, so on the, I'm wrestling with that right now in terms of how long I kind of want to go, but I'm more closer to the end, much more closer to the end than
Sure.
the beginning.
Absolutely. So,
So,
I mean, no, he'll get to see it on tape. It's all out there on YouTube now, right?
yeah, he'll be able to see
Yeah.
something, maybe ask a question. He might not even give a shit. He might just say,
This
"Oh,
is
this
the other,
shit's
this is the
tough."
thing I was just going to ask. What happens? What happens if, like, is in your head, you're like, I got this little boy, he's going to be exposed to my wrestling. It's like, you're feeling all the feels and everything. And what if he comes to you and he's like, Dad, we've been watching this stuff together, but I got to tell you, this wrestling stuff is gay.
Very possible. It's very. He's like, hold on, you used to wear what?
What?
Like, yeah, and he might not even give a shit. He might come and go, how come Uncle Cody was always better than you? Why you're not as good as him? Like, I don't know. He might just. It might be a bunch of. He might just,
See,
he might push my.
I would respect him for that one though. You know what I mean? If he was all of a
Fair
sudden
point.
like, yeah, not even just that, if he was, smart enough and willing and understood the Iggy's in the business to like give you the
Yeah,
gears like that, you know what I mean?
yeah. How come you didn't? How come he's way up? What happened?
Yeah, yeah. How come you don't have a
Uh,
cool neck tattoo, Dad?
so I don't know. I mean, it's going to be hard to avoid it because both his mother and father, obviously wrestlers.
Right.
You can see in the background, he's going to be aware of it, but whether or not it's an interest, who knows? He might not give a rat's ass. And either way, that's okay with me.
I think we both know that. I mean, he's grown up in a wrestler's household, and you're both very, very studious to the business and to the game. Probably like even. Do you find that you're having to watch more stuff because of the coaching now?
No,
Less?
no, I don't. Yes, I watch less.
Fuck yeah. I did the
And
same
and and, that,
thing.
and that's not to take a. That's not a shot at anything. That's not a
Right.
shot at anyone. No company.
Yeah.
That's just the way I was taught and the way I was kind of brought up, and what I learned from being in the system for so long are the very basic fundamentals of what I feel is required for a young person, a young man or woman, to go out into the world safely and professionally. I don't want that altered based on what they see and like, okay, well, I want to do these moves and this move. Okay, but if you don't know how to control your own body, you might break your neck. That's the reality of what we do. So I kind of have to bring it back to not old school, but basic ground level fundamentals. And from there we can build. So I don't, we encourage them to watch everything. And if there's something you would like to learn by the time we start doing matches, bring it to us. We will teach you how to do it. And if we can't, we'll find somebody that can, and then we'll explain to you why you should do this or, placement, stuff like that. But we've done very well so far in terms of producing good talent. Like we've had a few of our talents already get contracts in different
Yep.
companies. So we know we're on the right track. But our main thing is to safely prepare young men and women to go out and begin their career in professional wrestling. We don't emphasize the moves. We emphasize how you carry yourself as an individual, and we hammer into them as much as we can fundamentals, proper technique. So having said that, I go back to the more old way of thinking of slowing down, making sure, focus, proceed.
All the things that you didn't pay attention to you when you were breaking into the business.
100%.
Yeah.
No one. We didn't have anybody to really until you've been through
Fuck you.
experiences.
Fuck you. I told you guys, every single one of you guys. Now, it wasn't just me trying to be like, I got to save my wind. I told every one of you guys before and after matches, slow down, man.
You
Slow
scared
down.
the shit out of me. You scared the shit out of all of us. We probably couldn't hear what you were saying because we were just shaking in our fucking boots. That's probably why. I know I was. I can't speak for Bill or Crazy Steve.
No.
I was like, oh shit.
Listen, every single one of you guys, there's been very few people that I openly criticize inside of the business because that's not my place to do so. But there is also even less people that I will put over in the business, and you know this.
Sounds like yeah, that's it.
You know what I mean? But the group of guys that I put over that I talk about, guys like yourself, guys like Jared, guys like Jake O'Reilly, guys like Steve, guys like Cody Deaner. That's a lot of names to just come out of one very small area of the world when you think about professional wrestling. You know what I mean? So like the amount of talent that has come out of there is like, it's been crazy. And you toughened up to the point to where it's no secret. It's no secret that everybody that talks about being in a match with Shawn Spears, at some point, you're going to get chopped.
I like the throwing. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, trust me. This is what I was going to say, because I know you don't like to take them.
I do take chops.
I know you do. You've taken mine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I respect you. If I don't respect you, you'll hit me with one and I'll drop and sell and I'll roll out. Then you don't get to give me another one. But if I like you, fire away.
I don't know if you remember. I remember because you and I have worked a bunch of matches. There's no doubt. And I don't know if you remember this one or not. We're working a match. I think it was in Kitchener, Ontario, working for Jeff Marsh probably. When you duped me into coming over and doing business with him, and then you skated out the back door basically and like left me with the bag hanging on this promoter that like didn't have
a show or two later. Yeah.
Didn't have a fucking clue about what he was doing. What's that?
Someone had to do it. I
tried. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Well, listen, none of us could smarten him up. But we were working this match, and my wife was there at the time, and my niece, and the family comes out like they do at some of these shows. And at one point, I got gum in my mouth, and we're working the match and do the switcheroo into the corner, and I eat the corner, and then you jump up, hit me with the drop kick in the corner. And me, of course, very much like it's my boy. Let's go. Bang, right? Get right out there. Gum goes flying out, little split on the lip from the teeth or whatever. I'm down in the corner selling it or whatever. And my wife the entire time is getting hotter and hotter at you. She's like, he better not have kicked his tooth out. He kicked his tooth out. His tooth just went flying out into the middle of the ring. Blah, blah. Sent our niece down, sent her niece downstairs afterwards to the dressing room to storm in to make sure. And I'm like, yeah, no, it was gum. It was gum. So for a brief period of time, you didn't even know it, but you were a heel without being a fucking heel.
Oh, your wife hated my guts, and I'm glad you waited till all that time in intermission or whatever it was to smarten her up. But I do remember that. That's a testament to your selling, my man.
Well, no, it was just it was a testament to your working. Who are we kidding here? All right, enough of the blowjobs. Anyways, I did notice that you've got back to traveling. You just came back from the other side of the world not too long ago, right?
Australia.
And was this, have you worked in Australia before? Like, I know you've been there. Obviously, your wife's, family is just from there and stuff, but have you worked there?
Yeah, I've worked there with NXT.
Okay. But I mean, this outside of working for one of the TV companies or whatever, this is for a local company that you were down there, right?
Yeah. They run primarily in World Series Wrestling there.
Was this also the first time working on a card with your wife?
No, we had worked, outside of actually it was outside of a big company.
Yeah.
So we had done a few matches and stuff just on the same card and live events and things like that back in NXT days. But this was her first stretch back in a few years since she left Impact and had a baby and stuff like that. Yeah, this was her first go around. She didn't miss a beat either. That was crazy. I'm sitting there watching her. I'm getting sore watching her move, and I'm like, "You feel okay?" She's like, oh, "I'll be so angry tomorrow. I'll be so mad. My neck is gonna be so sore." So, but she didn't miss a beat. But yeah, it was very well run. I think I said this on Instagram. I'm the same as you. I don't throw around praise lightly. If I do, it's for a purpose.
Yeah.
And if I put someone over, it's for a reason. And I don't vouch for people that I don't know or that I don't feel has earned it. But that is World Series Wrestling is a very, very well run promotion there. From everything from organization, promoter wise, ideas, hell of a roster. I wrestled Jaire again for the first time in
How is
years.
that?
So,
How is that?
oh, dude, riding a bike, it's
Yeah.
sitting there, just you're moving the same, and the timing is there, and it's just like things like that are cool for me at this stage of my career. Like he's done so much in his career, and I don't know how it feels. I don't know how it feels for him. Like we trained Colton Gunn, we adopted Austin Gun Club. We, Kiana James, Harley Cameron. Like we've trained kids that have gotten contracts and are doing very well.
Yeah.
But I wonder if at Colton's 10-year mark, will I wrestle him? Probably not. Like I'll just be long gone by then. But I wonder what it feels like for Jared to go, "Man, I've seen this kid from day one. It's 20 years later. We're wrestling now. Like that's kind of cool to me." I thought the same thing about the Guns. Like you guys get to wrestle with Billy Gunn, your dad.
Yeah.
Like that is the cool, when you guys are, Billy's never going to die, by the way. He's a side.
I'm convinced that he's already died 3 times, and we're just seeing clone after clone of like prime Billy Gunn being reincarnated again.
He's going to live forever. He's going to live forever, hopefully. But like, how cool is that in, let's say, 15 years from now? Like, that's going to be something they're all going to sit around with and went, that was pretty damn cool. We got to do that. Like, things like that are really cool. So I mean, didn't go on a rant or nothing like that.
But I think one of those things is because Jaire was not like long into the business before he started training other guys. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He wasn't like 15 to 20 years into the business.
I think he was a 4 or 5 year man. That was
exactly. Yeah. Right. Because there wasn't that many years between he and I breaking in. Right. So he wasn't that, he was still quote, quote, green to the business. And you guys kind of, inside of 10 years grew up in the business together as a group. It seemed like, you know what I mean? So I think that's a really cool thing. That's why Jaire's been able to still hang with you guys, as you guys have all still been that group. Right.
Yeah.
That's
I can't stress enough the being in good hands. I think that show we did in Timmins, I think what I said to you guys afterwards, I meant every word. I don't know how much we want to get into it here, but even like to any young aspiring wrestlers that listen to the show or that are trying to find, like, I cannot stress enough, just you have to start in the right place. You have to start in the right place. You have to start around the right people. It's hard to find the right people nowadays, I think. But Jaire used to take me to all the shows. He would introduce me to you guys when I was sitting there going, I don't know how to talk to anybody. He'd go, hey, this is my student. This is, and I'm pretty sure he told a couple of you guys, hey, he's all right. Look up for him. Like, he always
100%.
He just did everything right.
Yep. 100% he did.
I take that and I use that and I apply that to this day. It's something that should never go away in this industry, in my opinion. Have you ever gotten over, because I'm sure that this happens, because it's happened at crossbody. I'm sure that it happens at flatbacks. I'm sure that it has happened at a ton of different schools. But have you ever had how deep, I want to word this right, how deep is the disappointment in yourself when you have somebody come in who has eyes as wide as a doe? They know what their character is. They know the moves that they're going to do, but you already know that they're maybe got a touch of the tism. Maybe they're not all together collectively, right? And you have to then break it down to the person that maybe we find something else for you to do inside of the business instead of being the performer. Have you had to deal with that? Yeah, we've encountered that on a few occasions. It's not so much a disappointment, because again, I'm a big believer that if you love this industry and you approach it with a logical mindset, as much as wrestling is not logical, there is a place for you in it. Whether that be on the lighting team, behind the camera, editing, like ring announcing, there's a million jobs at that level. I love when someone comes in saying, we've had people come in saying, well, I've been watching YouTube for 3 years. I know how to do these moves. And we've,
best.
this is my character name. And I love that, because then at least I have something to work with. But then when I also throw challenges at you and you go, we have to teach you that part. That's why, because it all boils down to this. Why?
And
Why is this your character? What's he about? Why
I,
does he talk the way he does? All that stuff.
but then you also have like, because I've had this one too, where you try to explain that to them and they don't want to get it and they get dense and then they just stop. They stop coming to train. They stop training or
Mhm.
whatever, and then a year later you see them on an independent show someplace because they went to train at a lesser school and sold a bunch of tickets and got themselves onto a show.
Yeah.
Like,
Look,
is this a problem down there as much as it is? Because you're from Canada, you've been around enough. Is it a problem where there are, to this point, almost too many cooks in the kitchen? When I say cooks in the kitchen, I mean promotions, and where anybody thinks I don't have to own a ring. I don't have to, like, I can rent a ring and I can pay everybody $20 because I was on Reddit and this is what I saw, that people are getting paid or whatever. And hey, I've made friends with the local shitty wrestler who's going to sell tickets for me and design my belts or whatever the case, you know what I mean? Whatever the case may be, like,
yeah.
there's that end of is it just as bad down
I think
there?
it exists. I think it exists everywhere, and I think it will exist going forward, and until it just becomes a thing of the deep past.
Right.
Because a lot of young kids that are starting out, they just don't know any better, so it's very easy to be taken advantage of when you're
But
that young.
back in the day, it didn't happen because the business policed itself a lot more, I believe, back in the day than it does now. Like, those kinds of things would happen, would pop up or whatever, but you would have a couple of guys that would put their foot down and be like, nope, that's not the way business is done. That's not what we do. You know what I mean? As the
Of
workers or
course.
whatever. I don't think that there's enough guys like that left in the
No,
business.
and I would agree. Back in that time, like for example, everybody got paid at the end of the show. Got your
Mhm.
little envelope. You went your separate ways. Nowadays, this is just another small but very important things. Things are done electronically. So I get my deposit ahead of time. I get the rest when I show up, and everything is done electronically. I don't get anything in hand anymore. So if someone's having a pay issue, for example, you might not know that until 3 days later when they go, "Oh, sorry, I don't have the money to send you." Like things are just so um, so much time can pass in between that things can get lost in translation or fall through the cracks. It's
Yeah.
just a small little other piece of how the business has evolved and changed. I think a lot more people are getting outed because of social media. So that is how I think things are being more policed. They're being more policed on social media or publicly on that form, as opposed to back in the day where if someone didn't pay you, you can go, well, you have two options. You can either fork it up or I shake it out of you, one or the other. Like that's just how we've heard the stories were. And that's how it was a little bit earlier on. Um, I personally never came across any of those situations except one time in Mexico. And then I was stopped by someone going, if you go to jail here, we are not getting out. And I went, fair point. So that's about as close as
And
I
they
came.
know that. It's almost like they know that. They know, oh, I can get away with it with this person. I can't get away with it with that person. Right. Now, do you
Right.
think, you mentioned social media being that's how people are getting outed, but is it also, I believe that it's also protecting those people to an extent, because you can't go and knock on a shitty promoter's door or something like that and drag him out into the fucking middle of the street the
Right.
way that you used to be able to, because somebody's going to film it and you're going to end up on World Star or something like that, and then you're the bad guy regardless of what the narrative or the story
Of
is.
course.
You know what I mean? So, like,
Of course.
did social media help, in your opinion, or did it hurt the wrestling business? Because this is something that I,
Um,
I ask, and people ask me all the time, right?
I think it's a wonderful tool when you have to be the king of your own self promotion. So back in the day, the only way to get your name out there was to, aside from the Ontario Indie Wrestling Board messenger thing, like you had to go out and wrestle on shows to build your name, to build credibility. You had to dip your toes into the States as much as you could, or go to all these places. And then if, TNA popped up, everybody would try and get in there. And nowadays, you can DM 100 promotions and you can work 25 shows within the first 6 months if you know it's a different day and age, and it's a wonderful tool in order to help kind of capitalize on the opportunities that could be in front of you. The only problem is that I don't know how many people are as honest. I don't know how many people are uh, as dishonest. The problem is it's always going to be one word against another. That's it.
Right.
So, like you said, if somebody calls out a promotion for not paying or for canceling shows, all they have to do is go, there was an issue. Sorry, we had to cancel. We're sorry you feel this way. We'll give you a refund. Now, is everything okay? Or is there a deeper, we'll never know. Like, I don't think it's hurt the business at all. I think it's a fantastic way to um, kind of, again, build your own star if no one else will. Uh, the challenge for young talent, or the challenge for even talent that has a lot of experience nowadays, is picking your battles. So all this stuff we're talking about in terms of promoters or shady or not getting paid or whatever, I wholeheartedly believe that that needs to happen. If I was just starting out in wrestling right now and you told me 15 shows to avoid, I'd probably listen to you, but for the most part, I'm going to try and work anywhere I can.
100%.
Any
And that's
experience-
the reason I don't tell any of our kids and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll tell them after the fact, because I'll ask them kind of knowing what kind of answer they're going to get you. Oh, so how was the show? What was your experience like? What did you learn from it? Knowing, you know, who they were working for and what the answer might be, and let them tell me their experience.
Right. Oh, there was 4 people in the crowd and it sucked. Okay. Did those 4 people care? Did you
Yeah.
make them make noise? Did you stay in character? Did you work on the things you wanted to work on to get those 4 people their money's worth?
I was thinking, did you sell a T-shirt or two? Or just grab them by their ankles.
Did you bring merch? Did you bring merch?
Right.
All these things are tools that you have to go through. There is no money. There is no money in the beginning. I don't care who you are, there is no money in the beginning. The money comes with tenure and how you respond to negative situations. You have a kid, or I have a kid that goes to a show, doesn't get paid, goes on social media and absolutely blasts a promotion and blasts a bunch of wrestling. Sorry, kid, you're probably cutting your legs out. You're dead in the water.
Yeah.
Pick your hill to die on. Pick your battles.
Yeah. Because
there's always a bigger battle to fight.
Right. Do you remember the first time, like you're talking about merchandise? Do you remember the first time that you like that, you know, because we've all had many, I think there've been many more days inside of the wrestling business where you're standing at that table, not selling stuff, than there are where you're selling out stuff. Right.
I was petrified. I never did it. I started in 2002. I got to WWE in 2006. I never sold merch until I was never good at going out like Diener. We all know how Diener is, the master.
He's a whore.
You know,
let's call it what it is. It's Diener's flea market. And listen, don't kid yourself. Don't kid yourself, because when you guys were all kids and I was the only guy at that merch table who had 8 different 8x10s, 5 different t-shirts. You know what I mean? I had a variety of stuff where everybody's like, here's my 1 8x10, or here's my 1 t-shirt. Oh, I don't like those, but I guess I'm going to support you anyways. You know what I mean? So like, I love the fact that Diener's he's got hats, he's got cozies, he's got, you name it, he's got it. He shows up with a bigger bag of merch than he does for his own gear. So he gets and he understands that end of the business or whatever, right? But
yeah,
it's
Matt Cardona is the same way. I was just on a tour with him over in Australia.
Yeah.
He brought 2 full gimmick bags. The thing is, I should have learned from watching that. I should have sat, and I saw you guys at the table. I saw you at the table with all your stuff, and I just never thought that anybody would care enough. And regardless of how you can't think like that, you have to be the king of your own self-promotion. You have to put yourself out there. Whether you stand at that table and you've been wrestling for 6 months or a year and no one buys anything, you're mingling, you're interacting with your audience, you're getting people an opportunity to get to know who you are. You have to get out in front of people. And for years, I didn't do it. So I don't want to say I missed out on a lot of money, because reality is I probably didn't, but I missed out on possible connections to get more bookings or to get more opportunities doing something else or traveling somewhere else. You never know. But I missed the opportunity to learn how to be a professional businessman in the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
So all of it is very, very, very important. And the tour in Australia, shit, I made more money in merch than I did in my pay. So lesson learned. You know, it's just
probably had something to do. Probably had something to do with you bringing the wife with you. I'm not going to lie.
She sat right beside me the whole damn time.
Yeah. Yeah. They were
On
like, yeah,
purpose.
yeah, I'm going to buy your shirt, mister, whatever your name is. Uh-huh.
That's not how it went. I said, hey, if they want one of yours, say they have to take one of mine. That's how this
That's
works,
right.
brother.
That's right. And we're starting
Work
with the double
smarter.
X's. We're selling the bigger ones first. I only
That's
want to
right.
take home. I want to take home one small. That's it.
Work smarter, not harder.
100%. Wow. Um, so let me ask you this. Out of all of that time, what's been the biggest lesson that you've taken away so far? Because I know that now you're coaching and stuff, so you're still learning. You're learning with the business as it goes along and stuff like that.
Always.
What's been the biggest lesson? Not so much in professional wrestling, because here's another one that I like to ask, because you've been in it long enough now, that you know that everything that we do in life ties back in some way, shape, or form
Yeah, yeah,
to the world of professional wrestling,
yeah.
right? Like everything. It's like we were talking before, and I was saying, every house is an office, and every day is a work. You know what I mean? So it's everything that you do. I find myself, because of the business, I look at trying to work life like a match. Does that make any kind of sense? You know what I mean? Like I look at it like, oh, okay, this really makes me think about things that I've learned in professional wrestling. And if I was in that match, in that situation, how would I handle this situation?
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of a weird game that I play. So sometimes, what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned in wrestling that you've carried over in life? And don't give me, I don't want to hear the be a good person to people. Fuck off. But there had to have been something, you know what I mean? There's always something that you learn inside of the business that carries over into your everyday, you know what I mean, into your real life, your shoot life, more so than anything else. For you, what's it been though?
Yeah, and it's funny you bring that up. I think to touch on your point about how you approach things, I think it's almost for me right on the same lines. But you're almost ready for, and this is going to sound bad, and I don't mean it to sound bad, so I'm trying to find the right words. But for those that aren't in the industry or that love it and read up on it, you hear about, oh, well, so and so said this online, and this was supposed to happen, it didn't happen, or they just released this person, and like I think within professional wrestling, you've been around it long enough, you're almost ready for anything,
Right.
good, bad, and indifferent. Like tomorrow, I could lose my job. That's the reality. They can call me tomorrow and say, look, we haven't been using you much on TV. We're just going to cut ties. I'm not like, I'm not okay with that, but I'm also not flipping out about that. I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, that could happen. I'm very well aware of the fact that the bottom can drop out at any time. In wrestling, because nothing is ever really guaranteed, you have to be okay with that for one, but adapting to that as you go along. I tell a lot of the kids, or even a lot of talent that ask me, like that are having problems dealing with either lack of television time or the pressure of television time. I go, we sign up, professional wrestlers, we sign up for the maybes.
Yeah.
We sign up for the maybes. Maybe we'll get a push, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll win something, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll get a contract, maybe we won't. Maybe we'll get hurt, maybe we won't. We don't know. We have to be okay with putting our name on the dotted line or taking a booking, knowing that it might and might not work out. So I think in terms of wrestling, like you're saying, you approach life like when something just, if I have a plan tomorrow to do this appointment, go to this event, and the shit falls apart, I'm gonna be like, ah, it sucks. Okay,
Yeah.
well, we'll just go another day,
But
or we'll just do it another time.
to further that point though, I think that's something that you learn. Now you just said
Mm-hmm.
it, you're teaching your kids young enough in the business. That's something that you learn in the business. Maybe I'll get a match, maybe I won't. Like it starts off with go to the shows. Don't assume that you're already booked. Go to the shows,
Yeah.
help set up, talk to people, meet them. Maybe you will get a match. Maybe you'll be asked to do something. Like it's the whole maybe thing is bred into us at a very young age of the business. You know what I mean? So it makes sense.
It's just it's getting comfortable knowing that the only guarantee is that there isn't one. That's it.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
all. So what I kind of have learned from wrestling is that if you stay, this is what I've learned only from me personally. If you stay in the game long enough and you do things right, now what you consider right can be a variety of things. If you stay in the game long enough, you do things right, something will eventually roll your way. You'll get it. You'll get an opportunity. Those doing things right is putting in the effort. Whatever it is, you've got your 50% covered. Someone else will meet you halfway. You're ready, so you never have to get ready. I'm a firm believer that your word, and there's another thing I think is dying a little bit. Your word is everything. If I give you my word, take it wherever, take it to the bank, because I'll die on it. I won't break it for nothing. But I don't give it out very much.
Right.
So whatever you consider that good is very, very valuable in terms of longevity, in terms of staying in the game, and how you respond to the negative stuff or the roadblocks, because there's going to be a lot more of them than there's going to be high points. That's also going to determine that part of that good. You can ruin it all very quick.
If you ever, you talk about your word and then the negativity on, how they kind of go together sometimes, because I know it's happened to me. Has it ever happened to you where you've had somebody try to cut your legs out from underneath you? You're booked on a show or booked to do a tour or something like that. And then you find out from the promoter that somebody else has contacted them to, hey, if you bring me in instead, I'll do it for blah, 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 that much less. Has that ever happened to you?
If it has, I don't know about it.
Oh, you're so lucky you didn't know about it.
If it has, no promoter or no other talent has ever come around to tell me like, oh, so and so. I've had my legs cut out, like in big companies, but
Sure.
that's a different animal. That's how that works.
Yeah. Well, politicking is everything up after a certain point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and here's the thing: it's not what people think. It's when I say it's not like someone said, "Oh, fuck Spears, don't use him." It's just like, "Hey, I got an idea," and then they go, "Oh, that's okay. Let's do that. Let's do that then." Like,
right.
It's not malicious. It's just business.
Right.
And if you're not someone who is on top of that or eager to engage in that, and I'm not. I can't bring work home with me. I can't be upset. I can't let it affect how I treat my son or my wife. I can't let that happen. I can't take it out on my student. I don't want to do that. So again, like I was talking about before, you got to learn to roll and adapt with how things operate, have an understanding of it. And if you do that and you put in your 50%, you'll be able to last in this industry for however long you want to.
Or you'll learn to ride with the riders.
I don't. I ride by myself on these long.
But it happens. It fucking happens. You know what I mean?
But here's the thing: I can concern myself with that, or I cannot.
Right.
And I choose not to. I'm not going to go that route. If that's what. Hey, all the power to you. All the power to you. I'm not.
Because it's dirty. It's just it feels gross when you hear about it. You know what I mean? You're just like, really? That sucks. But what are you gonna do?
It's wrestling.
It
happens in the movies. It happens in the music, and it happens everywhere.
It's the most. Yeah, because now listen, and I can say this because I was in the music industry for a very small period of time. I played in a band. We had, a record thing and toured and did all of that when I was younger before I got into wrestling. So you're exactly right. Like that, there's so many parallels, and even more so what I found, comedians, the comedy lifestyle seems to be very, very similar to the professional. Yeah, because you got to think about it. It's a lot of, 1, 2, maybe 3 guys into a car, all traveling together, going from like night to night, from city to city to different clubs, sleeping in the car, all sharing a hotel room together. You know what I mean? Like there's so many similarities I found just from having conversations with a bunch of, our comedian friends that I talk to and stuff. And it's like,
and I love comedy, so that makes me love it even more. That's fantastic.
Dude, who you hot on right now?
Matt Rife.
Oh, well, I mean that. Okay. I didn't mean like fucking hot on that way. I mean like for their comedy. Come on now.
He's still pretty. He's
That dude,
why can't
no,
I enjoy both?
no,
Why
he's a
can't I
fuck.
enjoy both?
He's a fuck boy. And I am
He,
fully okay with it. Like it is.
he I just love his. I mean, if we're going all time, I'm a
Sure.
Chappelle guy. I think Chappelle
Yeah.
is just top of the line. But he's. It seems like I think what I can appreciate about Matt is that he. I don't know how much of it is in the show, and that's the best part. Is I don't know if a
Right.
lot of it is spontaneous or not, but he's very quick on his feet.
Yes.
So if you have to cut a promo and you got 2 minutes to do it, here's your information. Go 3, 2, 1. He can jump in. He can just.
You see what you just did there? You see what you just did there? Yeah, exactly. It all comes back wrestling. To what you learn in pro wrestling. So, and I do the same thing.
So I can appreciate that in another field where I go, this guy's good, man. Okay. This guy, I might not be going up like lap, but I might be going, this guy's good. He's got me. He's good. So right now, he's pretty, and I appreciate his comedy.
Right. I don't know if you've seen it yet or not, or if you're a fan. Shane Gillis has a new special out on Netflix. If you get a chance, check it out. It's hilarious. Shane Gillis. He just got done doing the tour with Bert Kreischer and a bunch of the guys, that big tour that Kreischer just got off of. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's blowing up all over the place too, but he's got a new special. Very funny dude. I'm a huge fan of Matt Rife as well. I mean, he shows up on all. Listen, he's like herpes, though. You know what I mean? Because like you just get one little bit of it into your algorithm, and boom, he takes over your algorithm completely. It's almost like
your own self-promotion, baby.
It's a little disturbing.
Knows what herpes is, right?
It's a little disturbing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everybody forgets syphilis. Everybody knows herpes though.
Or chlamydia. Son of a bitch.
Right. I remember it was just called Drippy Dick one day. Shawn, I want to thank you so much, man. Listen, it's been an hour and it flies by. I know, this is what I'm saying, right?
That's when we're brother, and then we don't time doesn't exist.
No, and we don't talk about, I could give a shit about who you're working, when you're coming back. That's for so many of those other podcasts and shows to worry about. There's so many of them out there. You can go do a million of those things. I appreciate you coming by just to have a conversation with me, brother.
That's the reason I came by, my man. I knew what I was getting into. I knew it wasn't going to be anything like that. And let me tell you, I was looking forward to it. That's the thing I love about this show.
So, but I would be remiss if I didn't, allow you to, let's get the plugs in before we wrap this whole thing up. Like, where can people check you out if they want to pursue their career? You know what I mean? And I don't mean just in the Florida area. I mean, if you got to be willing to travel, sometimes that means the best places to travel to learn are not in your immediate area. Mm-hmm. Where can they get a hold of you for that kind of stuff?
I will plug my school first. So flatbackswrestlingschool.com. So I also do seminars. So if there's promoters or independents or things like that, I love doing seminars too, giving out as much information as possible. The social handles are at Shawn Spears, and I do have some things on there in terms of shows I have coming up. But other than that, it's all just little promotional stuff. But Flatbacks Wrestling School is the main way to get a hold of us. There's only a few other schools. I'll plug a few other schools only because in the States, obviously there's yours in Canada, but in the States, it's either Flatbacks, Nightmare Factory, or Black and Brave, which is Seth Rollins' school. Those are the only 3 schools that I would recommend in the United States today. No disrespect to anybody. Those are the ones that I've known because I personally wrestled their guys. So.
Awesome. And before we go, I want to get the question because
we're talking dream match question. I'm going to lose my mind.
Nope, I wasn't even going to say it. But yeah, since we're there, what is your dream match, Mr. Spears?
Oh my God. I think I got to talk to your wife. Let me talk to your angry wife.
Yeah, exactly. It is the silliest question I think that anybody could ask, is it not?
You can't answer it. It's impossible.
Right?
It is impossible to answer that. You can't.
Because I think that even if you had it, oh, this is my dream match, I want to get in the ring with so-and-so one day, and then finally it happens, it's never, ever, ever going to be your dream match, because then all of a sudden you're going to be like, new dream.
Yep.
New dream. It's got to be something different. So yeah, you're exactly right. But but everybody asks it because, you know, they're all, "Hi, Mr. Spears. Can I ask you 3 questions, please?"
It's that one. It's that one. It's the Mount Rushmore one. Or it's, hey, so when are we going to see you on TV again? It's like, Jesus Christ. That's not
Yeah, right.
TV.
Right. There's an old episode of Cops. You can watch it anytime. I'm on
There
there.
you go.
Have you picked out the kid's first Halloween costume yet?
Yes. Yes.
Don't
I
tell me.
have,
It better not be you. It better fucking not be you.
well, give him some big ass ears and a shitty haircut. Yeah, that'd be me, buddy. No, this is, but I am, so what I wanted, okay, was a big ass, full ass Michael Myers and then a little mini. Like, he's close, he can stand and he can take 2 steps and then he sits down. He's very close to walking. But I want a little mini Michael Myers so I can sit him in his wagon and drag him down the street with his mask and all that shit. And she went out and bought him a Winnie the Pooh, a little Winnie the Pooh outfit, which is cute as shit, don't get me wrong. But here's the best part. I went on Amazon and I bought a full big ass Tigger costume. So I am going down the street, dragging my son in his wagon as Winnie the Pooh, and I'm Tigger. I'm his best friend Tigger. So I can't wait for it. And yeah, I'll probably post pictures to prove that shit because I don't give a fuck.
It's all about moments, right? It's all about
100%.
moments. And this is why it goes back to professional wrestling, because even in professional wrestling, it's not about what you do. It's about the moment that you make.
How you make people feel, baby.
Right. And I'm glad that we've got to have this moment right here with my buddy, the good brother, Shawn Spears. Shawn, thank you so much.